But instead, I took it to Cedric's to entertain you.
And I'm serious about mine. I'm so sincere. I'm a grown-ass man, dog.
So, like, Underdog, like, your story needs to be heard. Like, this whole thing is about celebrating underdogs and just telling their story.
Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, yeah. Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated, we the ones. Yeah, we the ones. Yeah, we the ones. We the ones. Yeah.
Yo, what up, everybody? Underdog film, man. I'm here. This is a special day, man. I'm here with one. I didn't know if you noticed, but I'm a day one.
Yeah, day one.
Said, like, listen, I'm talking about Comic View.
Okay, they go back.
93, cross colors, all that. So, like, for me, yeah. So for me to be here with you is surreal, man. But I'm just excited to share and celebrate, not just promote, but celebrate, man. The book, Flipping Boxcars. Right, Flipping Boxcars, man. I really enjoyed it, man.
Yeah, you know what? I really appreciate it. You know, we had a time to talk briefly before, and the fact that you had a chance to read it and enjoy it. You know, most of the times when I've done these interviews, people hadn't even had the book yet, so it's that precursor conversation. But that's dope, man. So I'm glad that you enjoyed it. It was a special journey, and I'm glad people, you know, I'm getting great reviews and great response all around the country. So
no, like me, like I've got a book coming out, my second book too, coming out in a few months. So I know what that grind is like. But mine is nonfiction. For you, like fiction, that's different.
Yeah, you know, it was a different choice. I'd actually, to your point, I got another book that's more like a little biography. Telling about my, you know, grown ass man. That's the name of that book.
I'm a grown ass man.
And so, but this book was, you know, this was the spirit of like, you know, really kind of going through your journey and then realizing, growing up in a single parent household, not having my dad really around, but having what I consider very strong man qualities. You wonder where they come from. And I think, you know, that osmosis in a way, that DNA from my dad's, my mom's dad, who I never got the chance to meet, but he just had those genes, you know, of a person that was a go-getter. He was an entrepreneur, a hustler, a risk taker. And so, you know, just a few stories that I heard about him really inspired me to write this book. And so, you know, and I didn't know enough about him to tell his story, so I just made it up.
You know what's crazy? That was crazy to me. So like, I intentionally didn't want to read any interviews or anything before I read the book. I just wanted to be blank canvas. And so like, you know, I've been blessed. One, like I said, I've been a day one Ced fan, but then obviously like through getting to know you, and then when you pull up in Denver, just getting to know you, just as I'm reading the book and reading about Babe, the main character, your grandfather, I'm like, man, this is Ced. You know, the fashion, the cigars, how he is with people and all that. So I was taken back to see after the fact that you had never even met him, but you guys were so similar. Yeah,
man, that's what I think is unique. We hear that in our families a lot of time. People will tell you these stories, you just like your uncle, or you just like my brother, or people would, you know, you find this from your relatives, that connection is something to people that you may have never even met. Y'all have so many similarities, and so I thought that was, you know, that was what I really kind of latched on to when I was telling the story, because I did feel those similarities. I did recognize that hustle, that grit, that sense of style, that sense of community. You know, my man was also a person that really felt like he wanted to hold down everybody in his community, not just his family. But so, you know, all of those things are a part of my normal nature. And so you wonder, like, where does that come from? Is that are you born to that? Do you just develop it as you go along? But so that's what I really, you know, gravitated to his spirit, and then that's what I think really allowed me to write a book that I enjoy writing. And then as we got, you know, to telling the story, you know, like, you know, as you'll know, being, you know, writing is that you can oftentimes have an idea and then you're trying to figure out how to get to where you want to go. Sometimes you can get there too soon and be like, oh, wait a minute. I can't end the book right here. I wrapped it all up already. I need to back out. So those kind of things really led for a wonderful experience of developing, especially doing a fictional tale.
What is it that, is there anything as you're writing this, one of the things that, you know, like I said, connecting dots, and even when we was talking earlier at lunch, you know, and I think that that's one of the reasons that, you know, like I've looked up to you and you've impacted me just getting to know you is a visionary. You know, I think that that was one of the huge themes of the book was like both Babe and Rosie were huge dreamers. Yeah. You know, like when you wrote this, was there a vision that you had on how it was going to land with the audience?
I wasn't really sure. You know, it kind of started off like, you know, thinking about the story, and I created it from where my strong point is producing television, right? So I do TV shows. So I started to think about this as a TV show first. The whole idea was like how to make a series that's like Boardwalk Empire or The Wire or something like that, right? Like it felt like this kind of gritty drama, and then the opportunity to write the novel came, and it just felt like it made more sense because I could take my time. I can like just kind of hash out the characters in a little bit more of a long form. And anybody that read the book will realize I did that because I have all these cliffhangers. You know, I don't give it all away, but I got cliffhangers in there because I see the story keep, you know, I visualize the story keeps going. So it was just no way to like tie it up and go like, and that's the end of this one. You know, it was like, no, it's a life being lived. And now I just want to look in the curtain, like look through and see what's going on, right? So that was really the motivation that I started it with. But I think, you know, some really important things came out of it for me. Like one was the recognition of Babe in the 1940s. This was one of the things that became very clear to me when I was kind of like doing his story and wondering why he was taking so many chances, and we were trying to like, you know, really shape like why did he do what he did, you know. And you know, you think about like American history, the racism, the segregation, just the amount of where black men, black people in general, we can get started and then we can just get the, you know, the whole thing yanked out from, especially in the 40s, right? And so what I was really tripping off of, what I started to understand is that he had actually left the country. So many people, we don't really do that, and we live under the rules and the idioms and the norms of what America is, and sometimes we don't even realize that we just following these rules without having any other you know, kind of litmus to measure it from, right? And so the fact that he was in the, you know, he had went in World War II and he lived in Germany for a minute, and he was in England and then in France. And in France, where he was released and lived for, you know, 3-4 months before he even came home. And you can walk in the front door of a hotel. You can hang out with your white friends. You can go eat at restaurants. And then to come back and then have somebody tell you got to go through the back. You're like, what? So think about that, a man that's lived like that, not being able to put it back in the box. And that's where he was in his life. It's like I can't put it back in the box no more, dog. I don't know how to be humble or reserved or. It's very Deion Sanders. That's what I love. It's very what Prime is on right now. It's the right. I got the right to be who I am. I am who I am. Deal with that. And I'm not apologetic for it. And so that's why he just, you know, he felt like he had to push to his dream in this book, and that's what he was all about.
You know, I thought it was interesting that like both he and Rosie, like they both fought for their dreams, but in completely different ways. But then the way that one of the things, like you, not to get sidetracked, but you know, obviously it's a crime novel, but I feel like that's just on the surface. For me, like when you get below the surface, these beautiful relationships. It was unbelievable, just the relationship dynamic between him and his wife, him and his daughter, which is your mother, right? But then his friends, you know, like for me, like that, the book made me just want to be a better friend. It made me appreciate. I hit E up, you know what I mean, and just told him like the relationship between Babe and Carter. You know what I mean? Like that makes me think of me and Eric and just like the quality of relationships, and then also the book just inspires you, like you said, to dream.
Yeah, man, that's really dope. I really appreciate that, man, because when when you're trying to tell these stories, you definitely want to give. One of the key things is my grandmother was truly the most influential. She was the person I spent had in my life, knew, operated with, got her rules and all of that, right? So she was the person that really fought to keep our family together, make sure my mother went to college, make sure we had a house and food, and that was her. That's what she did, toward the end in real life. So, I think that recognizing that she was his muse and he was hers, and and that in relationships, I always joke about this, that people always talk about, we've been together 40 wonderful years, and then you see Miss Ida over there looking at talking about wonderful. All of them? No. Yeah. So, the fact that, that you do have to go through those ups and downs, you do have to recognize that it is an ebb and flow to a relationship. And I wanted to show that. I wanted to show that though Babe had messed up, that this wasn't for him. He knew where he had to go. He know where the North is. He know where his home is. And so you see him have that resilient nature at the end, like, yo, I got to fight for this. And that's what, that's what's important in relationships and love and life. I don't think people really fight enough. They don't they don't really, and in friendships too. And you saw that with Carter and with Hootie, like they have a very interesting friendship that's lasted many years, but under hard circumstances, but they boys, they locked in. Yeah.
And speaking of one of the things I enjoyed is one of my takeaways I wrote down is everybody has a story.
Yeah.
And I love how you stage the book where like you tell about a character on the surface, and then it's like, okay, this is who Hootie is, and then you go back and then you tell the backstory, and then you're like, oh, okay, like and then you look at him just like in real life. Yeah. Like once you hear his story, you realize that there's so much more substance to him, and the way that you did that, all the characters in a sense had their own chance to be the main character. Yeah, and to tell their story, I thought that was really dope.
That was actually one of the exciting parts when you kind of think about my outlines. One of the storylines I loved the most was that one. Yeah, it helped me kind of really formulate how I wanted to do the book, because I knew I was going to have to explain why these two people were friends. Yep. And so I was like, man, and so I started thinking about that story, and and then that helped me build out, okay, cool, now I can do Carter that way, I can do a number of things. So even when, it changes the space in the movie, because, we all kind of in one time zone, and it's in this 4-day period where you realize Babe's in the middle of the situation, yet I can pull off the relief and take you to a more relaxed space by saying, oh, let's go back to where you met Rosie at the carnival, right? Yeah. And then you had that moment. It's like,
which was Player.
Yeah, which is Player. That's real Player. Yeah, that's one of the ones you wish it happened like that in real life.
Yeah, for real. One shot, all that. We're not gonna spoil that. Hey, real quick, I just wanted to thank Ced again for giving us his time. Make sure you cop Flipping Boxcars. Secondly, Underdog the book, yes sir, is coming out soon. So this is how you can make sure you get your copy as soon as it comes out. Go to underdogthebook.com, shoot your name, shoot your email address, and as soon as we get a launch date and a pre-launch date for pre-sales, I should say, man, we'll shoot you an email so you can take care of that and cop up. Lastly, man, I'm always looking to celebrate and explore the story of Underdog so we can encourage the fellow underdogs around us. So if you have a dope underdog story, or you know of somebody, man, hit my DMs on Twitter or IG at Culture or Die, and we can celebrate your story. Now let's get back to it. But pivoting into, like I told you, so like my podcast, my book is called Underdog, and like I said, this book has a lot of underdog energy, and it was cool to see like maybe the roots of maybe your underdog DNA. Even when you talk in the acknowledgments, you talk about what you got from him. You talk about the DNA, and the word that stood out to me, you use the word dogmatic drive. Yeah. Right, I love that. But do you consider yourself an underdog, or do you have an underdog, like did you ever have an underdog moment in your life? And for the sake of just agreement, like as I wrote the book, I used the definition of an underdog as a competitor. that appears to have no chance to win the fight. And then collaborated that with Nelson Mandela's quote that says, difficulties break most, but they make others.
Yeah.
Do you have is there something that comes to mind with you where it was just like, man, this what I went through while everybody sees the Instagram said and the books and the sitcom, #1 sitcom and all that. And then obviously the king of comedy, they didn't see this part of my journey.
Yeah, man. I think, all the way, the whole thing. I think, I started in comedy in St. Louis when it was, it was rare to be, to make it outside of your hometown. You had to go to LA, you had to go to New York to make it or whatever. And so, but my mother was a school teacher and an educator, so she made sure that I went to college and got a degree and I worked. Right. And that's what I did. I believe that's what I was supposed to do. I had a job. I worked at State Farm. I had a corporate job. I wore the suits. Yeah. I got the company car outside. Get off at 5, guys. Got to get out of here. So but then when I discovered I can do comedy, I literally found myself. Okay. Like I was like, yo, and so the plan to like try to figure out how I was going to make it was. Again, these were the underdog strategies in my way, but they were strategies. I never really kind of did things haphazardly. Like I knew that I wanted to do, so I worked to get on a comedy tour. That comedy tour would give me a base enough salary to where I can live, so I can quit my job. Mm-hmm. And then, I remember I got to where I needed to go to the other places. So I go to Chicago, and Chicago's the big city, close to St. Louis, and they got dogs there. Bernie Mac, Adele Givens, Tony Schofield, George Wilborn. There's big, bad comedians there, like getting off. And so when you show up, I'm intimidated, and I'm feeling like, man, I'm not ready. But, I was. And so, in the moment of competing, I realized I wasn't competing against those. They were already big names. So I was competing against my class, right? But in my class, I was the head of the class, but I didn't know that, right? Yeah. And that's that moment of realizing you got something that you didn't know you had. Like I could have easily talked myself out of it because I was intimidated by the circumstance. Like, and I remember the feeling, like thinking I was going to just turn around, walk out, I'm not going to do it. But when I went and did it, and everybody was like, yo, like, dude, and I won. Like, I ended up winning $3,000 in the big, the fake check, the big one that you walk around. I got it. And, he never cashed that check. No, still got it.
Still got it. I love to hear it. No. Man, that's why I do what I do. Is just for me, it's heartbreaking to see somebody prematurely give up on their dreams. And so for me, like my why behind writing that book was like, man, maybe there's the Ced the Entertainer, the next Ced the Entertainer, or somebody that's gonna go along those same lines that like they get to those moments. And I feel like so many people, that's the most heartbreaking thing to me. Last 2 questions I know you have to go, is for me, one of the things that's most remarkable about you, I was talking to some young athletes a few weeks ago, and what I told them, I said, you can prove to me that your greatness by how you respond to great moments. What I told them is, I said, mediocre people that settle for mediocrity and just being average, they have a great moment. They have a 30-point game, or they might have a set at the comedy club. But what defines a great person is once they get a great moment, they find a way to be even greater. So when I look at you as somebody like, bro, if you would have just called it quits after the King of Comedy tour, I mean, you stamped. Yeah. But your commitment to just still be driven, to still be hungry, and accomplish all you have since that. Even when we were at lunch earlier today, and just hearing you talk about the barbecue business and everything you're doing, it's like that Meek Mill line, to have $1 million but grind like I'm broke. You know what I mean? Like, where does that come from?
Yeah, I mean, I think that really is the spirit of wanting to leave it all on the floor. Like, I really feel like, I never rest on my laurels. That's something that I always kind of said from the very beginning of my career, because I had great success in a lot of ways early, not like financial success, but I mean, The first time I did comedy, I won $500.
Yeah.
So, you know, like these moments like of realizing you got it. Like, oh, I got this. And if I just, you know, kind of laid back and let everything be about the last thing I did, then it would be that. I mean, and as dope as Kings of Comedy it was 2001.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting ready to live off that. I can't. Like, so
some people do.
Yeah, I mean, you know, and I recognize that, but I mean, the spirit of me is like, leave it all on the floor, man. Get up every day, go get it. I wrote the book.
Yeah.
That's music. I don't care. Yeah. Like, I've learned to trust the fact that the opportunity comes in being able to have one, right? And it's kind of like, you know, when you get in the game, that's it. Like, go off, man. Like, go off, give it all you got, because you don't know. You don't know if it's gonna be the last game, or you know, the coach gonna don't like you and put you in, or take you out, or whatever. But when you in there, be great. And so that's literally something I tell every young comedian. No matter what, if you a stand up, when they say your name, you next.
Let's go. Yeah.
That's it, bro. Yeah. Like, nobody else get ready to walk out there once they say your name. That's it. Yeah, and last thing, and thank you again so much for your time. I'm really appreciative of it, and also dropping your knowledge on my audience. I think that, especially in your career, we live in this space. Obviously, I work with a lot of athletes, and a lot of people try to tell them to, like, block out distractions, which obviously you should, but, like, in the life we live, I think it's more about, like, not distractions, but noise. That's what I meant is like noise. Just watching you, one of the coolest moments of my life was when E allowed me to just hang out with you guys when you did the Comedy Get Down. Yeah. And watch you throughout the day. You're going over here, you're doing radio shows, meet and greets, and all these things. And then all of a sudden, like, you're getting ready to go walk out and kill it in front of 22,000 people. How are you able to not necessarily, because the noise is a part of your job, you got to do that, but be able to be amongst this noise and all that, but still be locked in and deliver at a high level with everything on the line? You know, I mean, it is a fairly centered focus. I mean, you know, as much as it seems like it's chaos for anybody else that's watching it, and, you know, you almost said it. It's me, you, and E. It's me, you, E, Rico. At the end of the day, it's this group of people. Yeah. It looked like it's a whole lot of people, but really I'm right here with my folks that's getting me, they got me. They holding me down, and I'm there to represent. And so when I go out on the stage, I kind of like go out there knowing, one, that I respect the people that came to see me. I respect y'all, so y'all spend money. So I'm here to give you something. And I want to have fun myself. Like, I'm here. I'm up here for an hour. I'm not getting ready to be stressed. I'm about to go over here and have a good time. And that's usually the attitude I take, why so many people feel like my comedy feel like they brother, they cousin, they uncle, because I'm literally up there like I'm with my people. That's how I treat it. I appreciate it, man. Thank you so much. Before we go, man, I want to give I got your book. Yeah, man. Make sure everybody cop that. Yeah, flipping Boxcars. Flipping Boxcars everywhere. Give you a copy. This is my first book, Guide to Basketball. And then this is the first copy. This ain't even out yet. This ain't even in the street shed of the next book, Underdog. So I appreciate it, man. Thank you. And then last thing. Got a cigar for you. Yes, sir. You know, I felt that was appropriate. Nice, you know, Babe is a cigar guy. You a cigar guy. I'm a cigar guy. So I wanted to get that for you. It's love, bro. Appreciate it, big dog. Thank you. Appreciate you, man. That's dope. Thank you. I really appreciate it, man. Yeah.
Underrated, we the underdogs, underestimated.
Hey, Underdog fam, thank you so much for tapping in. Now, do me a favor, man. Subscribe, like, comment, share, do all the things. And until next time, keep fighting.